We are all looking for a map, aren't we? In a world that feels increasingly chaotic and uncertain, we search desperately for a system, a teacher, or a community that promises a background, a framework to make sense of it all. A person might come to me and say, I have been a member of a group, perhaps a Gurdjieff group or some other intensive philosophical school, and I find it has given me the foundation to truly understand what you are saying. This is a very common and earnest position, and it's almost always followed by a profound dilemma. Should I continue in such a group, they ask, not for my own benefit, but to possibly help others as I was helped? Or, and here is the crucial doubt, does belonging to any organized system, any school of thought, inherently make for fragmentation? This idea of helping others is truly extraordinary, isn't it? When I hear this, I have to ask you, and please ask yourself with complete honesty, what does this desire to help truly imply? It implies that you, the helper, have already arrived at some final destination, that you possess an extraordinary comprehension of life that others lack. It suggests that you are overflowing with a beauty, a love, a truth, and a profound sense of inner order, and that you have touched that immense, indivisible sense of wholeness. But I must ask, if you truly had that, if you were that complete, whole, and loving state, would you even talk about helping others? Would a flower discuss its strategy for spreading perfume? Or would a burning star hold meetings on how to illuminate the darkness? It simply is, and its fragrance, its light, is its action, uncalculated and unconditional. The very desire to help often stems from a place of perceived superiority, a subtle and extraordinarily clever form of self-expansion, rather than from the simple, uncalculated existence of a complete human being. So, before we even touch this idea of helping, let us first look at the deeper urge, the profound psychological pull that led to the question, why do we want to belong to something? Why do we feel this compulsive need to join a sect, a specific group, a particular religious body, or even a political movement with such religious fervor? Is it because deep down we feel it gives us strength? Of course it does. It gives one a great sense of power and identity to say, I am British while living in Britain, or I am Russian, I am American, I am part of this movement, or I am a follower of that teacher. We identify with the collective, and that collective identification gives me, the small frightened ego, a wonderful sense of expansion and security. It drapes us in a borrowed robe of importance. And why do we so desperately need that strength? Is it, perhaps, because we are terrified of standing alone? We misunderstand this word, alone. We have come to equate it with loneliness, with isolation, with being desolate, abandoned, and empty. But the word itself, if you look at it quietly, simply means all one. To be all one is to be whole, complete, undivided, and unfragmented. But we cannot face that state, can we? We feel weak, uncertain, and afraid when we are not defined by a group, so we need constant encouragement. We need somebody, an authority, a book, a leader to pat us on the back and tell us, yes, this is the right way. You are doing well. keep going. We crave this psychological validation because we have not yet discovered any light of our own, so we seek to live by the light of another. And so the questioner says, this group helped me to understand you. But I must ask, and I ask this of you as well, understand what? Understand me, the speaker. The speaker is irrelevant. The speaker is just a signpost, and you are worshipping the signpost instead of looking at the direction it is pointing. Or do you mean to say the group, the system, helped you understand the words we are talking about? Do we truly need interpreters, systems, and years of study to understand the fundamental realities of our own existence? Think about it very simply. To be kind, to feel love without jealousy or possession, to have no sense of nationality, no tribalistic division in your heart that separates you from another human being. Does it really need anybody to tell you to do this, or to explain that this is the sane, orderly, and intelligent way to live? Why do we depend so profoundly on others for our psychological understanding, for permission to be sane? It doesn't matter who the other is. It can be the ancient carved image in a church, a figure in a temple or a mosque, or it can be the modern equivalents. The preacher on television, the psychologist with his complex theories, the political analyst, the lifestyle guru on social media with millions of followers. Why do we depend on any of them? Because if we do depend on others psychologically, we are, by definition, second-hand people. And this is what most of us are. We are a collection of other people's opinions, other people's experiences, other people's conclusions. We scroll through our feeds, looking for the right opinion to adopt, the right lifestyle to mimic, desperately hoping that by following we will somehow find originality. We are echoes, not voices. The entire history of mankind is in us. The whole story of our species is not just in dusty books on a shelf, though it is there too. The living history, the root of conflict, of greed, of fear, of sorrow, of the search for God, of the capacity for immense beauty. It is all here inside the skin. You are that book. But the problem is, we don't know how to read that book. And this is the great challenge. To read that book, you cannot be the reader. Do you see the profound difference? If you, the reader, which is the me, the ego, the color of experiences, the censor, the judge approach this book, you are merely interpreting, judging, comparing, and translating. You are reading as a reader, and therefore it has no real meaning. It's just you projecting your own conditioning onto the text. But if you are the book, if you can observe without the observer, without the reader, then the book itself begins to show you. The book tells you the story. You are not telling the story, it is telling you. It unfolds its entire contents, the fear, the jealousy, the ancient hatreds, the desperate loneliness, the capacity for immense, boundless love. And in that state, when you are simply the living book, you will not depend on a single person. You will not need a single authority, a single group, or a single guru ever again. In that, one becomes a light to oneself. But we don't want this, do we? It's too much work. It's too frightening. So we are all waiting. We are waiting for the match of another, the fire of someone else to light our way. And perhaps that is why you are all here listening to me, hoping that I will provide the flame. And that, you see, is where the tragedy lies, because it means we are still refusing to see clearly for ourselves. And before we ever presume to help others, before we take on that righteous mantle of the helper, for God's sake, we have to see clearly for ourselves. We have to put our own house, which is a mess, in perfect order. Otherwise, it is just the blind leading the blind, stumbling together into a ditch of our own making. Now, I understand that when I say this, when I point out that depending on another is the action of a second-hand mind, and that helping others is often a form of self-aggrandizement, it can feel harsh. A person might immediately protest, and I hear this often. They might say, "But sir, I wanted to say, you flower, and we, the audience, we see this flower, and you also help, don't you? You help year after year. You help those who come again and again to listen to you. How is that different?" This is a very serious and important question, and we must look at it together very carefully. I'm glad you come here year after year, just as I would be glad to go and see a great mountain day after day. There is an immense, unutterable beauty in a mountain. I'm not, please, I'm not saying that I am the mountain. That would be a monstrous and absurd thing to say, creating another cult, another object of worship, which is the very poison we are trying to understand. The teaching is the mountain, truth is the mountain, not the person who speaks of it. But let us look at why one would return to a mountain. You look at it, and you see the majesty of the skyline against the infinite blue. You see the silent, ancient snow, the deep valleys that hold shadow and quiet, and you feel the absolute, profound quietness that emanates from its sheer, unmoving presence. You watch the river that is born from it, the water rippling along, chattering over the rocks. There is a great abiding beauty in that, just as there is in a lake that is so utterly still it holds the sky without a single tremor, or in the wild, ungovernable power of the ocean. I would go and see it every day. Why? Because the more I see it, the more beauty there is in it. Its beauty is not exhausted in a single glance. Our modern mind, our tourist mind, wants to take a casual look of a weekend. We want to fly in, take a picture, capture it, put it on our social media, and say, "I have been there, I have seen it." We collect the experience just as we collect spiritual systems or gurus. We have done the mountain just as we have done the Gurdjieff group. But this is not seeing at all. It is merely an act of acquisition by the me. To look at the mountain day after day implies a completely different state of mind. It implies a constant looking, a constant asking, a ceaseless observing of the truth and the beauty of it. This looking has no end. You don't come to a conclusion about the mountain. You don't say, "I have understood it," and walk away, your mind closed. The moment you do, you are no longer seeing the mountain. You are only seeing your own memory, your own dead conclusion. But if you look with fresh eyes Every day, every moment, you see something new because the light is different, the shadows have moved, a cloud is passing, and you are different. This constant living observation is the meditation. This is the flowering. It is not a person who flowers. It is the state of attention that is in itself a flower. So when you come here to listen, what are you doing? Are you coming to get something from me, the speaker? Are you trying to collect new ideas, new techniques to add to the old framework of the Gurdjieff group or whatever other system you belong to? If so, you are just a tourist taking a casual look. You are collecting fragments and then wondering why your life is still fragmented. But if you are coming to look with me, to look at the mountain of our own consciousness, to observe the truth and the beauty of what is our anger, our fear, our sorrow, our capacity for division, then we are partaking in something entirely different. Then, perhaps, you begin to see, not because I have given you sight, but because you have used your own eyes, perhaps for the first time. This is why I must insist. I am not helping you. The very idea is a trap. If I help you, I make you dependent on me and I become your authority, your crutch. And a man who walks on crutches is not a whole man. You will then need me or someone else or your group to tell you if you are walking correctly. This is a game of the blind leading the blind, even if the one leading claims to see. The only true action is for you to throw away all crutches and see for yourself. This is frightening. I know. It means you must stand utterly alone, all one, responsible for your own perception, for your own order. But it is only from this state that true clarity, true love, and true action can be born. Therefore, the question of whether to continue in a group to help others is based on a fundamentally false premise. It assumes you have the truth and that your group is a valid vehicle for it. But if the group itself is a form of fragmentation, a method for seeing the mountain, which is like wearing colored glasses and claiming you see it more clearly, then what are you helping others to? You are merely helping them exchange one set of comfortable second-hand patterns for another. You are not helping them to see the mountain in its totality. You are just inviting them into your very specific, very exclusive club of mountain viewers. Naturally, one must go, one must move. But this movement is not the movement of joining or leaving groups. It is the inner movement of constant inquiry, the constant observation of the truth, the constant dying to yesterday's conclusions so that the mind is fresh to see today. This is the only help that has any meaning, to be so utterly and completely engaged in this act of seeing for oneself that you are, without any intention or desire, a light. Not a light that others follow, but a light that by its very existence proves that light is possible, encouraging others to find their own